everyone, and welcome to today's meeting of West Lothian Council's Council Executive. Could we have order, please? Thank you. I'm Councillor Lawrence Fitzpatrick, and I chair this executive. Meetings are normally broadcast live over the internet and on the Council's YouTube channel, but that has been suspended. Webcasts of meetings have been suspended from 16th March until 7 May because of the Scottish Parliament election on the latter date. This meeting is not therefore being webcast live. Members of the public will still have their usual statutory right to attend meetings in person, even where they're not being webcast. The recording of this meeting will be available through the Council's website soon after 7th May. I'm being assisted today by the Chief Executive, the Governance Manager, and colleagues from Committee Services and IT. Attendees may be joining the meeting from another location. Everything said while microphones are live will be recorded. Members are asked to be polite, respectful and patient. There is more information, including a privacy statement about meeting arrangements on the Council's website. An agenda has been published showing the business for today's meeting. I will introduce each item. Normally, a Council officer will speak briefly about the report. Councillors ask questions, have a discussion and make any decisions which are required. Councillors may leave the meeting from time to time where they've declared interests that prevent them from taking part. There will be a pause while that happens and they will be invited back in for the next item of business. If the meeting proves to be a long one, it could be adjourned temporarily for a meal or comfort break, and I will say if that's going to happen. Do we have apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any apologies today, and Chair, I can also confirm that Councillors Angela Doran-Timpson and Damien Doran-Timpson are connected to the meeting remotely.
Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest, please? Councillor McMillan, please.
Thanks, Chair. It's a transparency statement. I'm employed by Kirsty Sullivan, Member of Parliament for Bathgate and Linlithgow. Thanks.
Councillor Pauline Stafford, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just item 7, it's a connection. One of my children has a membership with Excite.
Thank Councillor. Councillor Daniel Logue, please.
Just to inform you that the paper number 7, West Lothian Leisure, I'm a board member. It's just for transparency.
Thank you very much. Anyone? Councillor Tom Conn, please.
Thanks, Chair. It's a transparency statement regarding item 7. I'm a Director of West Lothian Leisure appointed by the Council, and agenda item 13, the direction from West Lothian IJB. I'm currently Vice Chair of the IJB.
Thank you. Councillor Craig Meek, please.
Thanks very much, Chair. So it's in regards to item number 7, West Lothian Leisure. I am a member of West Lothian Leisure. Thanks. Just a transparency statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Angela Doran-Timpson, please. We can't see you, Angela, but you should be able to speak. I'll come back to you, Angela. Councillor Susan Mannion, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just for transparency, I am a member of Excite.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? We'll come back to Angela Doran-Timpson. I'm advised that you should be able to speak and that we can hear you, but we can't see you online. What we can do is move on, and we'll take your declaration of interest later in the meeting. Thank you very much. The order of business is as per the agenda. I will ask that item 12 be heard. That's the Customer Service Excellence Report for 2025-2026. Does any member wish to hear item 13, Directions for West Lothian Integration Joint Board? If so, it will be heard. If not, it will be taken as read. It will be taken as read. Thank you. Can we confirm the draft minutes of the meeting of the Council Executive held on Tuesday, 3rd March, please? that agreed? Thank you very much. And then we move on to item 5, which is procurement approval report. Tom Henderson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Council Executive are asked to consider the procurement approval report and make a direct award to the WISE Group for a period of 2 years for the provision of an online skills platform service. This direct award is fully compliant with procurement legislation and Council standing orders for the regulation of contracts. I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members? Councillor Campbell, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tom. I think that this paper is to be welcomed. It's an excellent initiative and shows the commitment of this Scottish Government to rehabilitation. I do have a couple of questions about how this administration is administering the initiative. On page 2, the third paragraph down, from 4th of April 2024, very successful with 447 referrals and over 4,000 hours completed. However, it doesn't show, what the report doesn't do is inform as to the success of the referrals, how many people actually went on to employment or to addressing addiction or indeed any other health matters. So I wonder if you could address that.
Councillor Campbell, that's probably a question that my colleague Joe McPherson or Rob Allen might be able to answer.
Rob Allen, please.
Thank you for the question, Chair, and just confirming that I'm coming through okay.
Yes.
Thank you. In relation to the detail that's been requested by the member, the service continues to work closely with the WISE group to be able to analyse the available data that is being progressed through the completion of the course. The specifics are not available to me at this moment in time with regards the impact of those that have gone on to gain further employment, etc., or indeed address any particular addiction issues. What I can say is that there has been very positive feedback both from the service in relation to the working relationship with the provider and the service that's been offered, and also those individuals that have used the service and have completed their hours for the community payback order elements of their disposal.
Okay, thank you for that, Rob. Although I did, I suppose I envisaged that after almost 2 years, or after just over 2 years, that we would have a note of the specifics that I had asked. It is good to hear that there has been positive engagement, but that doesn't really address the question, or indeed it doesn't address the fact that this initiative has actually been successful. Obviously 447 referrals are fabulous, but it really would be good to see the positive outcomes as a result of these referrals. And it's a pity that's not available. That would be good if this administration could actually provide these statistics. The only other thing I wanted to ask was...
On this question, which is still current, Joe McPherson, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. And as Robin Allen has said, we will see if there is any further information we can provide in relation to the question. I suppose the critical point, though, is that the work that the WISE group do in relation to any unpaid work order is one component of that work. So actually extrapolating what is a positive outcome relating to that aspect as opposed to the other aspects of unpaid work and supervision that will be done as part of that individual order may be quite complex to actually clarify. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. The only other question I wanted to ask was, are we, and it's a good report and I'm very pleased to have read this, but are we sure that directing or a direct award to the WISE group is in the best interests of the council, or have we looked at other providers?
Tom?
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Doesn't seem to be any comments. Councillor Battle, please.
Yes, it was just sort of a follow-up to Councillor Campbell's. I think that what she was trying to ask, or what I would like to know certainly, is whether the council does actually collect data for social return on investment. Is there something that the council does so that we can see that? And it wouldn't just be for this, it would be for a lot of different elements and across different departments. I know it's something that other councils do, for example, so it would just be really good to know if this is something that we employ.
Tom, you're
Not a contract basis, but certainly
live now.
Sorry.
No, you're off. You're live now. You're off again.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Patton. Every contract's on a sort of contract-by-contract basis, but certainly call it something that we'll incorporate in future reports in terms of return on investment.
I think the question is whether you use a method of gathering data so that you can analyse it in terms of social return on investment. Because I know that there are various models available that are used nationally, internationally, and it would just be good to know if West Lothian Council do that. And I suppose if they don't do that, if there are any plans to do that. Because as we start to invest and use our funds in more sort of amorphous projects, it's difficult to know how we can measure the outcome to the best of our ability. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, certainly for every contract there is.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm obviously looking at return on investment in an activity like this. I think Rob had mentioned about, data that they may well be able to get. So I think, it would be something that we would look to the service to see whether positive outcomes were achieved by the investment that's been made in this project. So Tom and I can certainly pick up with the team to see if there's anything further on that in relation to this piece of procurement.
And give feedback to...
Yeah, the members.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any comments? Happy to agree the recommendation. Thank you. Can we check if Angela Doran-Timpson's online yet?
Yes, Chair, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes. You wish to declare an interest, Angela?
Yes, it's just a transparency statement. It's for item 7, just to let you know that I am a member of West Lothian Leisure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we move on to item 6, the Chancellor's Spring Statement 2026. Linda Ferguson, please.
Thank you, Chair. On the 3rd of March, the Chancellor of the Exchequer provided a spring statement outlining the economic position and fiscal outlook. This was not a budget update, but included updated economic projections for the economy, growth and government borrowing from the Office for Budget Responsibility. At a high level, the projections were little changed from the forecast provided alongside the UK budget published in November 25, with a slight dip in GDP forecasts and slower than previously projected reductions in CPI inflation. The projections included in this announcement have been impacted by the developments in Iran, which took place a number of days prior to the Chancellor's statement, but after the OBR finalised their projections. The economic outlook internationally has been impacted by the situation in the Middle East, particularly with oil and gas prices fluctuating significantly. This will likely have impacts on inflation, bank rates and growth, but as this is a developing situation, the impact is unknown at this time. The Spring Statement included £921 million of additional Barnett funding for the Scottish Government, the majority of which relates to special educational needs in 26-27 and 28-29. Although there was more funding announced for these years, the outlook for public spending in 27-28 remains challenging, as identified by the Institute for Fiscal Studies. In line with the Council's established approach to budget monitoring and financial planning, officers will continue to closely monitor developments at a local, national and international level, which could impact on the Council's financial position. Updates on key risks, which include risks associated with recent developments, will be closely monitored during the year, with updates provided as part of budget monitoring. Budget model assumptions for future years will be reviewed in line with existing practice to reflect updated available information as it becomes available. The Director of Finance and Property Services will continue to provide updates to Council Executive and Corporate Policy and Resources Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Linda. Are there any questions? Councillor Pauline Orr, please.
Thank you. On page 4, there's reference to the unemployment rate being forecast to rise according to the ONS. Can we have clarification, please, that that is the UK unemployment rate that you're referring to? As you know, the unemployment rate in Scotland is considerably lower than in the UK overall and is currently sitting at between 3.3 and 3.5%.
I can confirm that this report, as it relates to the UK spending review, the UK spring statement is the UK position.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I suggest then that in future reports both figures are shown separately, the UK from Scotland, so that we can see the comparisons? Thank you.
Chair, I can confirm there is a report going, a Horizon Scan report going to Corporate Policy and Resources, PDSP, on Friday, which has information at a Scottish and a UK level and does contain that information.
Yeah, that is correct, and these papers are in the public domain as we speak.
Thank you. That's all from me.
Councillor Campbell, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Linda. Could I just ask, the utility price cap may rise by 30%, which is obviously a massive rise on 1st of July. That would add an extra 1% to CPI inflation in July before indirect boost from businesses. Do we have any idea of what the implications will be for West Lothian Council as a result of this?
As everyone is aware, this is a developing situation with no timescales. It's unclear what the impact will be until it is delivered and felt. At this stage, we do have a robust budget that was approved in February. We are horizon scanning to see what the implications would be, and if there is any impact, that will be borne in the budget monitoring, which is reported to Council Executive quarterly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. I'm interested to hear that this administration passed a robust budget in February, because at the top of page 5 we see that, as we know, £1 million was taken from reserves to bring the council tax rise down in line with requests from the 4 Conservatives, but we now see that a higher drawdown from reserves is required and was planned, so further savings will need to be identified. Do we have any idea how much further savings would have to be identified?
In terms of the decision around council tax, as outlined in the budget motion, that is £1 million, and officers will report back, as was agreed at full council, on options to address that gap on a recurring basis from 27-28.
But we now hear that a higher drawdown from reserves is required on top of that £1 million. I would have thought that would not lead to us hearing that a robust budget was passed in February. Thank you.
That decision was taken by Council and is a matter of fact. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Patel.
Yes, I think mine is very similar to Councillor Campbell's, although I would like to thank you for the phrase horizon scanning, because I just have now this image of you with binoculars and a telescope, and I love that so much. But yes, really it was just to do with Section D6, the implications for West Lothian. Can you reassure us that you are confident that we do have enough in reserve to cope with whatever's coming, given how uncertain everything is at the moment?
The largest proportion of the council's budget is in fact staffing costs, and that is set for 26-27. It is unlikely that the reopener clause would be reopened with regards to the teaching element of that. Then the next largest element is energy costs, and with the majority of energy already purchased for 26-27, we would not expect to see massive movements in that. There are still risks regarding general inflation across many areas. However, we do still have the risk and inflation reserve, which is available to help weather those storms.
Okay. What about things like fuel costs for the fleet?
that would be covered as part of the budget monitoring and would be taken in the round as part of the Council's overall financial position. And as I did mention, we do have the risk and inflation reserve, which can help balance against any pressures that we may see arising in that area.
Okay, thanks very much.
Councillor Pauline Stafford, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, my first question was also around the level of reserves, because I think we're one of the lowest in Scotland at 2 million. And it was just whether we are confident that reserve amount is enough. And do we have a working group looking at concrete plans if this crisis in Iran continues for any lengthy period?
In terms of reserves, although our unallocated general fund balance is one of the lowest in Scotland, we do have a number of earmarked reserves, one of which is the risk and inflation reserve, which is there to help counter any unexpected price increases and pressures in the budget. The Council can review its reserves policy at any time and reprioritise, and we do have substantial earmarked reserves which could be used for that purpose. As I mentioned, we will be looking at the potential risks. There isn't a working group at this stage, but please be assured that Financial Management Unit, along with heads of service and unit managers, are closely investigating any potential impacts that may arise from the Iran situation.
Okay, thanks, Linda. And my second question was just, have we had any information, or are we anticipating any emergency relief from the UK government for people who are struggling with energy and fuel costs?
I have not been informed of anything at this stage.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Councillor Anne McMillan, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just talking about the reserves and using them up if we had to. On page 4, under D.5, the second paragraph, this additional funding for Scotland means that the Scottish budget will have more money to allocate in 2026-27. In 2028-29. So I'm just asking the question, have we had any indication when and if we are getting anything extra here at West Lothian Council?
At this stage, we have not received anything regarding that additional funding.
Any other question? Any comments? Councillor Campbell?
I think, as has been outlined, the statement at the top of page 5 that a higher drawdown from reserves will be required than was planned will be required shows the absolute incompetence of the administration in dipping into reserves for the budget process. I would also like to add that the Grangemouth refinery, the only refinery and the only oil producing nation of the nations which currently make up the UK produced aviation fuel. That's obviously going to be in short supply if the situation in Iran continues. That was closed as a result of UK Labour government decisions, and that will never be forgotten.
Any other comments? Councillor Damien Don-Timson, please.
Chair, good morning, thank you. What a bizarre line of questioning and comments from the Nationalists here talking about the reserves, because every budget from 2017 that I've seen them bring forward, they've spent the reserves every single year, even those that can be used once, which was a strange line they're going down now. But thanks to the Nationalists for pointing out that due to the Conservatives, the people of West Lothian are facing a lower bill than they would be if we had not made the request that was supported at full council budget meeting, as you quite rightly set out, Chair. And further mentioned there about Grangemouth, I wish the SNP would make their minds up. Are they for oil or they're not for oil? 1 minute it's their oil, next minute they want to close the oil fields down. The oil fields down. Now they want oil refineries saved. Wish they'd make their mind up which way in the clock they're facing today. I'm sure by this time next week it'll be a different way, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I take that as a comment. Councillor Meek.
Thanks very much, Chair. We're on comment, yeah? Yeah, no, that's grand. Just want to welcome the work that our officers are putting into this to obviously keep us fully informed, and obviously keeping us fully informed allows us to make the best decisions. In terms of the advice and comments from the SNP, it won't come as any surprise. They'll take no advice or support from the SNP in regards to use of public funds, and better to kind of look at their own advice. If you look at the previous budgets that they've put together for budget setting, they've used up all the reserves, so there would actually be nothing left to support this council through the difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councillor Tomcon, please.
Excuse me. Thanks, Chair. Can I thank officers for the report and for the information detailed in it, which I think highlights how erratic the international situation is. It's almost as erratic as the SNP policy, as Councillor Damon Timpson has just mentioned. And I can't forget that just a few months ago, Councillor Campbell was asking this council to make approaches, or through John Swinney, the First Minister, to Donald Trump about whisky tariffs. I think that just shows the lack of imagination in the SNP, that they think that we can get tariffs on whisky from a president who seems to have territorial eyes on every small independent country, or indeed oil. And he seems to be portraying himself as some sort of person who can walk on water. And then when that's exposed, he says that was a portrayal as a doctor. I think a doctor's first duty is do no harm. I think the SNP should consider don't do any harm and actually amend their policies that they've actually got for Scotland and actually look after the Scottish economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would make one final comment if there's no one else. As far as reserves are concerned, any competent council creates reserves so that the unseen issues that arise can be dealt with. And I have every confidence in our finance team, on whom we all rely on. Secondly, in terms of the councils and the money which is available to councils, I would remind you that Barnett consequentials have flown very, very well from all UK governments of every colour. But we do have in writing, when it came to one thing about swimming pools, when 6.3 million came through, which should have gone and been shared by councils, we still have the letter. It is for Scottish ministers to determine how to spend Barnett consequentials. It is a total joke. Anyway, are we happy to agree the recommendation in the paper? Thank you. We now move on to West Lothian Leisure funding arrangement. And Linda, you will speak to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Council Executive is asked to approve the annual funding agreement for West Lothian Leisure for 26-27 for the delivery of a range of culture and leisure services. The annual funding to be provided to West Lothian Leisure was included in the Council's revenue budget approved on the 24th of February 26. The annual management fee is just over $979,000. The agreement not only sets out the management fee, but also details the terms and conditions for payment, the process for monitoring and scrutiny of West Lothian Leisure's financial performance, and other related governance matters. Subject to approval today, West Lothian Leisure will receive the management fee in 2 equal instalments in advance, subject to the terms and conditions set out in the annual funding agreement continuing to be met. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Linda. Are there any questions? Councillor Campbell?
Thanks very much, Linda. Could I just clarify, on the very last page of this report, the total annual management fee at the bottom for 2028-29, it shows £479,169, and then from 29-30 through to 2045-46, £610,794. Are these figures correct?
Sorry, what page was that again?
It's the very last page of the
appendix.
The report. The back page, Linda, on mine's anyway.
But it's the final page on the appendix, page 7, Linda.
Yes. Yes, those figures are correct and takes into account the approved savings over the period 24-25 to 27-28 in regards to West Lothian Leisure.
Okay, so the figure for 28-29 is correct, almost £500,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Councillor Pauline Stafford, please.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Linda. On page 3 at the top, it says that the trading deficit was reduced considerably, mainly due to West Lothian Council's Summer of Play funding. I just wondered how much that was and how different that is from normal years, and does any of that include the Scottish Government investment this year for Summer of Sport?
Greg Welsh, please.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have the specific figure that West Lothian Leisure delivered as part of the Summer of Play programme last year. The planning is underway for the Summer of Play and Summer of Sport programme for the forthcoming academic summer period, and a report will be presented to Education Executive on the process for that. But I can certainly make available, Chair, the specific value that was provided to West Lothian Leisure to support the Summer of Play activity last year.
That'd be great. Thank you, Greg.
Any other question? Any comments? Doesn't seem to be. Happy to agree the recommendations. Thank you. And we now move on to item 8, the proposed lease of office premises 11 Quarrywood Court, Livingston, to Smile Counselling. Scott Hughes, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. The purpose of this report is to seek Council Executive approval to grant a 10-year commercial lease of council-owned office premises at 11 Quarrywood Court in Livingston in favour of Smile Counselling. The recommendations are set out in section B of the report, and those recommendations are that the Executive should grant the proposed lease on the commercial terms set out in section D2, and that the Director of Finance and Property Services should be authorised to carry out any further negotiations necessary in respect of the proposed lease terms on the basis that these continue to represent the achievement of best value for the Council. Chair, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Scott. Are there any questions? Pretty straightforward report. Any comments? Happy to agree the recommendations. Thank you very much. And we now move on to item 9, surplus property, the former Guildhall Depot at Blackburn Road, Basgate. Scott Hughes again.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to seek Council Executive approval to formally declare the former Guildhall Depot in Blackburn Road, Bathgate surplus to the Council's requirements, and to seek approval for officers to dispose of that property in accordance with the Council's surplus property procedures. Again, the recommendations are set out in section B of the report, and those recommendations are that the Executive should formally declare the property surplus and instruct officers to dispose of it in accordance with the aforementioned surplus property procedures. Again, happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Campbell, please.
Thanks, and thank you very much, Scott. You'll be aware that there's a lot of door knocking going on at the moment, and one thing that has come up is the Guildhall site, and what I've been informed is that the area on the extreme left of the site, as it appears on the plans in front of us, was actually originally playing fields which had been gifted to the community when the schools were built. I don't know if it was St Mary's or what's the other one? Lindsay High. So, does this area of land actually belong to the community, and would that come under common good land?
Chair, I can confirm that all the subjects under consideration this morning are owned by the Council. The entire site and the titles have been checked. We have a legal opinion, and none of the property is qualifying as common good.
Okay, thank you, Scott. So this area does not represent the original playing fields for the high schools?
Chair, I think the area in question was part of the former high school, but again, all the titles have been checked, and we've had legal advice that they don't qualify as common good.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Any other questions? Councillor Pauline Stafford, please.
Thanks again, Chair. Just at the top of page 3, Scott, it's just got a general passage about community asset transfer, and I just wondered, have there been any approaches to the Council regarding inquiries about asset transfer for this site?
Chair, we've had no formal community asset transfer requests. We have had a tentative inquiry from Bathgate Golf Club. They've been given some general advice about asset transfer and about the process, but no formal applications have been forthcoming.
Thank you.
Any other question? Any comments? Doesn't seem to be any. Happy to agree with the recommendation. Thank you very much. And we now move on to item 10. It's a marketing update. Commercial opportunities across Country Parks Estate. Scott Hughes again, please.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to update the Council Executive on the recent marketing exercise undertaken by officers to advertise the opportunity for commercial events to take place annually over the autumn and winter periods at B. Craigs, Armandale and Polkemmet Country Parks, and to seek approval for officers to proceed with a recommended course of action as set out in the report. The recommendations are set out in section B of the report, and those recommendations are that the Executive should note the outcome of the recent marketing exercise, agree that officers should seek to identify and explore other commercial opportunities across the Country Parks estate by appointing an external consultant to scope out and identify potential opportunities, and agree that officers should present an update report to a future meeting of the Executive on the outcome of that scoping exercise. And again, Chair, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Scott. Are there any questions? Councillor Patel, please.
Our fabulous country parks in West Lothian. I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, I did go over this report a couple of times. I can't see any figures though, so you're essentially asking us to write you a blank cheque. How much do you think a consultant is going to cost?
Chair, we've had discussions internally between property services and colleagues in Nets and Land Services. Our working assumption is that we'll be looking at a figure of around about £10,000 for the consultation exercise.
£10,000 seems like quite a lot of money. When I was trying to find this last night from previous council executives when we've discussed this, but I'm pretty sure that there was confidence amongst officers that, you know, people would come forward. This was an attractive offering for companies who run this type of event.
Yeah, I think Councillor Patel opened our comments by expressing disappointment, and officers share that disappointment because we too think our country parks estate is a fabulous asset, and we could and should be making the most out of it that we can. I think it's also important to recognise that the council only has limited reach and experience in these areas. We were actually approached by a consultant during the marketing period who said, you know, that's their business, that's what they do. So there are companies out there with greater experience and greater reach in the council, and we feel that by employing a contractor, we can demonstrate and we can show to the members and to the public that we really are trying to exhaust this exercise.
So if it's going to be £10,000 for a consultant, are you going through the normal procurement channels?
Chair, any consultant that we appoint would be appointed in accordance with the procurement requirements, yes.
Okay. And just then, I suppose my final sort of question is whether you think events are going to be up and running in time for this Christmas, because that'll then be the second year in a row that we don't have a festive event up at B. Craigs, for example, which seems like a massive wasted opportunity. Because again, I was trying to remember why GC events pulled out last year, and I thought it was because of Storm Éowyn, which I again, at the time, I thought that was really weird because I know how hard Nets worked, the Rangers worked. B. Craigs was clear it was open again by Easter. So I never really understood that as a reason for them pulling out. But I suppose the question is whether you think we are actually going to see optimum use of our country parks in this year.
So, Chair, we previously brought this to the Council Executive in December, and we undertook to give an update at today's meeting. And that timeline was very much couched around an expectation and a hope that if we did that within that timeline, and if there were interest coming forward, we would be able to put steps in place to have an event take place this year. Now, clearly that hasn't happened, and we're all disappointed about that. So I think to be honest and be transparent, I think it's probably unlikely that we'll be able to go through a consultation exercise now, and even if something is forthcoming, to have something in place for this year.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Scott.
Councillor Pauline Stafford, please.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the report, Scott. I just wondered, do we have up-to-date visitor numbers for these parks, including the caravan park at B. Craigs?
Victoria Mungo.
Chair, thanks, Councillor Stafford. For last year, there was 389,000 vehicles visited the park, and we anticipate that was in the region of between 1.2 and 1.4 million visitors.
That's for all three parks, is that right? Yeah, brilliant, thanks. And I'm not sure who this question would be directed at, but in terms of our tourism strategy, where is that tourism strategy?
Greg Welsh, please.
Chair, there's going to be an updated report brought to the Economy Community Wellbuilding PDSP on the West Lothian tourism strategy, and work's been undertaken by officers in terms of that work, and will certainly include the country parks as part of that strategy.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Councillor Campbell, please.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thank you, Scott. Just a couple of questions, and I think you've probably mainly answered this, but given that the report's asking, or the conclusion's asking us to recommend that external specialist consultants be employed by this council, was that part of the budget in February?
David Mould, please.
Chair, it wasn't specifically called out as a specific item in the budget, but within the Nets and Countryside budget for 26-27, I'm confident that we can accommodate it as a one-off cost, and if it results in us gaining some additional commercial interest, then effectively it'll be a spend to save initiative for the council.
Okay, thank you, David. So it was not included in the budget in February. Thank you. Thanks for that. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Councillor Tom Conn, please.
Thanks, Chair. Can I ask Scott a question regarding the Craig's Country Park in particular? But would it be reasonable to assume that given the recent number of storms which we've experienced recently, that woodland attraction and events may not be as attractive to operators as in the past, and maybe that's why we have had a lack of interest? It's not about the facility themselves, it's about the generality of our weather.
David Mould, please.
Chair, I think that's perhaps a valid point. Over the last 2 years, we've suffered at least 4 that I can think of significant storm events that have had a drastic impact on our woodland. So that might well be the case. Certainly, in terms of an operator want to put on an event in terms of their insurance liabilities, I'm sure that would be factored into their estimates of the costs that they would incur.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Any further questions? Any comments? Councillor Orr, please.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you for bringing this report back to us today. It's very, very important to get an update, but we must all remember that there was a very successful event held in Craigs in particular between the years of 2019 and 2023. But at the end of their contract, the council chose to put the land out to tender, something which I in particular cannot get my head around, having come from a sort of background in operational agricultural areas where land can still be extended in contract. That initial contractor may still have been in place and generating some income for the council. So I do sincerely hope that the steps now being taken to involve a consultant at cost is going to reap the benefits that the council is looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stafford, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to reiterate that point as well, it's good to have this update now, but it is disappointing. Item 2, that we're being asked to agree without any costs attached to appoint an external consultant. I just think it's important to remember that the SNP group brought a budget 2 years ago suggesting that we have a post in place to maximise the use of assets and boost our tourism at that point, and this was dismissed by the administration, and now they're looking to to scrabble together an external consultant because we haven't managed to use some of our fantastic facilities, including in the Bathgate Hills. We've heard that there is a report coming now for a tourism strategy, but when you look it up online, the tourism strategy was billed as 2025 to 2030. We're now well into 2026, and these are huge missed opportunities at a time that the council needs to exact as much revenue as possible from the assets that we've got here. And if we look to our nearest neighbour in Falkirk, who do have a tourism strategy in place, they've boosted their tourism numbers hugely since COVID, and that's now bringing in 157 million to their local economy, supporting 4,500 jobs. And the numbers that Victoria's quoted today, 1.2 million visits to West Lothian, shows that there is appetite there for people to come, and we should be doing all that we can to use that to support this council.
Councillor Mannion, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just to note that tourism comes under the auspices of Visit West Lothian, who are a separate body who have responsibility for the oversight in relation to tourism and for the development of the strategy. And I can give an assurance that in terms of discussions that we've had with them, that we will be looking to see that come to the I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but I'll make that clear as soon as I've clarified it around when that's going to come. But I think that we at that point, I'm sure, will appreciate the significant work that is done by Visit West Lothian as well as council colleagues to support tourism. So hopefully that will show in the figures that come out through the strategy and the ambitious plans going forward. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Battle, please.
Thank you very much. Just a few things. I'm just going to pick up on what Councillor Mannion has said, because obviously we do have a West Lothian Council officer embedded in Visit West Lothian. It is his job to act as liaison. Part of his salary is paid to act as a liaison between the council and Visit West Lothian. So we wait with bated breath to hear this vision of tourism strategy that he's going to come up with. I think in June is the next eCube meeting. Just to pick up on another couple of points, again, I'm just gonna say I have talked endlessly in this chamber about how wonderful I think the opportunities are for us to maximise tourism in West Lothian. We have such a wealth of history, whether that is prehistory, whether it is our knights and castles and jousting, whether it's industrial heritage, which is so vital to the history of this nation and which happened right here in our region, or whether it's visiting fabulous natural assets like our country parks. We don't capitalise on it, and we should be. There are some really easy wins here. I'd like to remind the Labour administration that I brought you a suggestion for introducing a car parking charge at our country parks of 50 pence per day. So if we are talking about 1.2 million visitors to our country parks in a year, that would have been a very easy win, but you dismissed it out of hand. I'd also like to say that the budget that was passed in February, which I did not support, included an £80,000 income to be split between fixed penalty notices on trade waste and also on income from the country parks. So I wonder if that is now going to be reflected now that we're having to spend an extra £10,000 on an external consultant. I think finally I'd like to say that yes, we are experiencing storms, but they're not just happening in West Lothian, and other councils, other regions across Scotland continue to hold external events in areas such as country parks. So they are obviously finding ways of mitigating what is happening in terms of climate change and extreme weather events. Finally, I just want to say that I know how hard NETs work. I know how fabulous our country parks are. I'm just really keen to see us maximising what we can get out of them to help us with the perilous financial situation that we face. But I mean, honestly, our country parks, we should be so proud of them because they are fabulous. They're such brilliant offerings, and I know how hard all the officers, all the rangers work to continue to make that happen. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of comments. The phrase on the fourth paragraph down on page 3, it is possible that operator confidence, makes me feel rather anxious. It does appear to suggest that nobody picked up the phone to discuss offers or discuss the proposals with operators with a potential to adjust in order to seal a deal, I suppose. And the other thing I would want to say is we've been asked here to agree to employ consultants without the costs being outlined. That's on top of what we've just heard from officers regarding paper 6, where additional reserves will have to be drawn down. I think that these combined show the absolute incompetence of this administration. That will not be forgotten.
Anyone else? Councillor Tomco. And remind everyone, I think the public who are sitting in the benches do realise we're in an election period. Tom.
Chair, just about to say that we are in an election period, and clearly there are 2 parliamentary candidates sitting in the benches opposite, which, of course, it's up to them. I don't think for transparency purposes they made that declaration, unlike Councillor McMillan, who declared that she was an employee of an MP. But hey, you are a parliamentary candidate, full stop. That's all I said. Okay. That's what I said.
Okay, can we have some order? Thank you.
But again, we seem to be having history being rewritten. A budget that Councillor Pattle was saying that she didn't support. She didn't even get a seconder. So in that sense, but then she letters on about her complaints and what she was actually wanting in the budget that she had no support for within the chamber. Regarding enforcement.
Sorry, what's the point of order? Sorry, it's not a point of order. Sorry, that wasn't a point of order, Councillor Campbell. Thank you. Sorry, thank you.
That a member is repetitive in the statements that are made in the chamber. Is that more respectful?
Okay.
But by making allegations which are actually false, that we were taking new powers regarding enforcement, but actually we had existing powers, and making that a case against officers actually enforcing the legislation that we actually have. The previous operator in B. Craigs actually had similar problems as the most recent operator, GC Live, in B. Craigs. Unfortunately, the first operator had to contend with COVID and the consequences of that. And then we had storms with the second operator. But let's not bother about the facts and the history. But let's look at one thing where the previous operator declined to make an offer for the new lease that was being offered, where the successful offer that came in was higher than the previous monies that we actually received. The council is charged for best value, and that's what the council achieved. Officers now seem to be getting criticised for actually doing the job in which they're being paid to do, and that is to maximise the revenue to the council. Unfortunately, that does come with market forces, and that's what officers have reported today, that they have had contact from operators. They did answer the queries, and the operators failed to follow up on that information. So I'm a bit surprised where everything seems to be the administration, the officers not doing their job, rather than the market forces which are actually there and determine whether a successful bid comes in at a level of income that we're actually looking to generate for the public purse. What happens in other local authorities is entirely up to them. We have to look after our own interests in this council area, which we do. But the fact that you want to criticise the actions of officers, then you need to look at your own reasoning for doing that. But I've got confidence in officers delivering what we're asking them to actually do. With the resources that we do have, due to the budgetary circumstances we have, which I've heard again the Scottish Government continually getting mentions as the cavalry coming over the hill, which is actually the last thing they've ever done.
they have cut our budget by the end of this administration period by £203 million. You want a Rolls-Royce service for a mini minor budget, and you just don't get it. You don't want to accept it. All you want to do is criticise.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Damien Doran-Timpson, please.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard a couple of times today Councillor Campbell make the threat that things will not be forgotten. It's a shame her previous leader, Nicola Sturgeon, went under questioning in Parliament, didn't have such a good memory as her. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I would just give a final comment. There's been a big rehash. I think officers have done an excellent job here. As regards anyone else coming in to bid in terms of our procurement process, they could have tendered. And as regards the external consultant, at £10,000, we buy things every single day of the year, and it's not included as a specific item in a budget, and it can be included within the service costs. Anyway, I could go on, but are we happy to agree the recommendation? Thank you very much. We now move on to item 11, consultation on the future of secure care and single point of contact for victims. And
thank you, Chair.
Susan Mitchell, please.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to inform Council Executive of the proposed response to the Scottish Government consultation on the future of secure care and the single point of contact for victims, and seek approval for submission. Relevant services have contributed to the West Lothian response, and it has been shared for comment with PDSP, which was due to timing of publication of the consultation and scheduled PDSP dates, which did not allow for presentation at panel. It is recommended Council Executive approve the proposed response for submission to Scottish Government. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Doesn't seem to be any comments. Doesn't seem to be happy to agree the recommendation. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 12. Customer Service Excellent Report 2025-26. Rebecca Kelly, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is an update on the outcome from the Council's annual Customer Service Excellence Assessment. I'd like to highlight to the Executive some of the key findings from the assessment. Firstly, that the Council has now achieved 27 years of continuous recognition in this national standard, which the assessor commented as a tremendous and rare achievement. The assessor also awarded 24 areas of Compliance Plus, an additional 5 from last year, which means that the Council is achieving good practice levels of performance and 42% of the assessed elements in the CSE standard. In particular, in their report, the assessor commended the Council for having a clear vision for excellent customer service that permeates through the workforce and is reinforced through our focus on performance. Excellent approaches to customer consultation, citing the recent budget consultation and complaint handling, and praised the efforts by the Council to tackle the housing emergency, strengthen wellbeing support for staff, expand citizen-led inspection, and improve customer access and digitisation in our services. Special praise was reserved by the assessor this year for the commitment and efforts of Council staff. The assessor visited a wide range of services, depots and schools and locations across West Lothian, and consistently found that our staff provide a polite and friendly service and are prepared to go the extra mile for their customers. He also noted that the Council has improved the levels of staff satisfaction, empowerment and recognition, and with staff value is now awarded Compliance Plus status in the standard. Officers will now take forward the areas for improvement that have been recommended by the assessor ahead of the next assessment. I'd welcome any questions.
Any questions on this? Doesn't seem to be. I have a motion which has been sent to committee services, and I'd be grateful if that could be circulated, please. I'll give you a couple of minutes to read it. Has it been circulated?
Chair, yes, I just circulated the motion.
Thank you. I'll give another half minute for everyone to read, confer, think. But in moving this motion, do I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Mannion, thank you very much. What I'm asking Council to do is agree the 3 recommendations in the report, but also approve the new recommendations 4 and 5. Recommendation 4, this Council has held the customer service excellence standard for 27 years. The CSE assessment report presented identifies 5 major enhanced outcomes, each of which has attracted a new Compliance Plus rating. With a total of 24 Compliance Plus ratings, it is the Council's best ever performance. Also, members are asked to agree that in recognition of this significant outstanding achievement, underpinned by the hard work and commitment of staff across the Council in delivering excellent customer services, it is proposed the Council grants an additional day of annual leave to all employees. This would be consistent with the arrangements previously approved in 2024 to recognise the achievement and maintenance of the CSE standard, and the cost of which will be met from existing service budgets. I'm advised that the cost spread across all services would be approximately £30,000. And the arrangements previously approved in 2034 for this additional day, it would be for each. Remember, we have schools which are still open until the end of June, and it may be that people want to take this much later on or add an extra day to their annual leave. But it would be for each individual member of staff to liaise with their manager, and for that manager to ensure that we had proper service cover, particularly in areas like care homes, etc., and so on. So it's open for debate. I have the seconder with Councillor Mannion. Would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think this report indicates the significant work, good work that's done by so many of our staff across all of the services to take an inclusive approach to the work that they do, and to see such good outcomes in relation to that which we see. It's highlighted there. The level of assessment that's done in order to be able to carry out this review is detailed, and it shows that indeed the results speak for themselves in relation to the comments that are made. I think it's really important also to note at a kind of corporate level review, there is recognition of a number of pieces of work that are done, and I think it's also about how we engage with citizens and engage with the public and use information that we get back from the public and our staff in order to be able to make the decisions that we do. I think another clear example was the work that was done in relation to the development and consultation of the budget. We saw several thousands of comments made, individuals included, young people included, and I think that contributed to a detailed process of agreement around a very competent budget. But I think that goes hand in hand with the work that we do in relation to work with all of our citizens across West Lothian. So huge thanks to the staff for the work that they do, and all those who've made a contribution to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any amendments? There being no amendments, the motion is carried. Thank you very much for your attendance today.